Hi everyone, Aiden here with eTrailer.com, and today we're going to be taking a look at the Hollywood Rack's Destination 4 bike rack here on our 2022 Ram 1500 Classic. Now this is going to be a platform style bike rack holding the bike in these trays and primarily by the frame. You can see we've got our frame clamp up here. These are going to rotate 360 degrees and be able to slide independently up and down. So for our alternative frame bike here today, it actually works really well because it's able to adapt and move to that frame. One thing we aren't going to want to put on here though is a carbon frame bike because it makes frame contact that is going to risk damaging the frame. So just keep that in mind when you're picking this out for your bikes. We are also going to have a 35-pound weight limit per bike, so just make sure you're staying under that too. Now because of this design, it is going to work well with kids bikes too, without the need for a bike adapter bar, so that's really nice to see right out of the box. For me, this is a really good family-oriented bike rack. Now, unlike some other bike racks, you don't have the option to tilt this away with or without the bikes loaded. So for our tailgate here, with the bikes on, we aren't going to be able to get full access. We can take the bike off though, going to these wheel straps first. We can press in that gray button and then just pull out the ratcheting strap. And then, with one hand on the bike, we can press the gray button up top on that frame clamp and push the strap out on that one as well. From here, we can just go ahead and lift the bike up and off. It is a little bit tricky because it is a 4-bike rack, so getting into that innermost bike is going to be tricky, but it's not too bad. I'll set this to the side, and we can fold down that center mast to get some better access to the truck bed. Now to do that, we'll loosen up this hand knob, fold this plate out of the way, and then we can just tilt this down to whatever side we see fit. I'm going to move it over to this side here and just replace these straps. I also like to take one of these wheel straps and actually secure that around the mast just to keep it still. And from here, we get better access with our tailgate, but we still do make contact with the rack. At this point, all we're touching is the rubber pad on the cradle strap. So it's not going to do any damage to the paint, but I would like to see full bed access. Another option you might look into is the Yakima Ridgeback. When that tilts away, you do get full access on this truck. The only thing there is it's not going to work as well with your alternative frame bikes and kids bikes. With it like this though, let's go ahead and get some measurements moving back to the destination here. We're going to start with our ground clearance. It does have a U-shaped design here, and at the lowest point, we're going to get 27 inches of ground clearance. That's going to be plenty for most applications. I don't think you have to worry about it. As far as the distance added to the back goes, it is going to stick out 41 inches, which does stick out a fair bit. It is a very large bike rack, but we can fold it upright. When the bikes are unloaded and we want to leave it in the hitch so it's ready for next time, just pull that clip out, loosen this hand knob down here, and then fold the rack upright. From there, we can just reinsert that hand knob and thread it in with the newly aligned holes. Now I like that it threads because it actually acts like a sort of anti-rattle device, keeping this pivot point really strong on the bike rack. It's one of my favorite things about this one in particular is that it's actually fairly sturdy for the kind of entry-level point that it's at. Now with it like this, let's get that new measurement. It's going to be sticking out about 14, more like 13 and a half inches to this back end here. So it is fairly condensed and not sticking out too far. And one thing I'm noticing here is we actually get a pretty good view with our backup camera. Even though it's a larger bike rack, we have a pretty good open space here that pretty much perfectly aligns with our backup camera. So while we will still see the bike rack here, we will still get pretty good visibility. Down here at the hitch, it's working with our 2" by 2" receiver tube and comes with a locking anti-rattle bolt. That's going to keep things locked up and really solid in the hitch. And overall, I think this is a pretty solid 4-bike rack. Like I mentioned earlier, if the tailgate access is a big deal for you, check out the Yakima Ridgeback. But if you're just looking for something simple to get your bikes to their destination, and you want it to just work out of the box with those alternative frames and a kid's bike, I think this is going to be the better option. Thanks for watching.
Now we're going to go ahead and take it on our test course. First we'll start with the slaloms. This is going to show the side-to-side action. It's kind of going to mimic the movements that you'll see whenever you're driving down the road normally. Now we'll have the alternating speed bumps. This is going to be more so like the uneven roads and some of that uneven terrain you might be traveling on, and see how it holds up.